If you aren't already doing it, please play Pikmin 4. Let's talk about it. Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. I just rolled credits on Pikmin 4. I've always enjoyed Pikmin. I played it when I was younger. I recently went back and finally beat the first two games. I played Pikmin 3 on Wii U, finally finished it when Deluxe came out. I've always liked Pikmin, but it's never been a series that I really connect to, you know? I know there's those hardcore Pikmin fans making the Pikmin memes in Times Square. That's never been me. I have been a pretty casual enjoyer of the Pikmin franchise, though. I even played Hey Pikmin, played Pikmin Bloom, but Pikmin 4 is something that I was excited for, but not, you know, through the roof, just on the edge of my seat, anticipating this game. Which is funny because in terms of Nintendo announcement cycles, I think this has to be one of the games that they announced like the furthest out from release, because if you remember, Miyamoto confirmed this game's existence in 2015, and here we are in 2023 just now getting it. So while I was interested in Pikmin 4 and I was excited to pick it up on release day and play through it, I wasn't, you know, super hyped, you know. I didn't have crazy expectations. This game is actually incredible. I would say this is probably one of the Switch's best games. I think if it wasn't for Tears of the Kingdom, this would be my game of the year already. Just for context, I have about 18 hours played. I just rolled credits, but for those Pikmin fans watching this video, you know there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to this game that I have not seen, and that's where I actually want to start. This game is really long. I think there's a lot of people that kind of look at Pikmin. I got some comments about Pikmin 1 and 2 HD saying that it shouldn't be $50 because they're very short games. This is not a short game. It took me almost as long to beat and roll credits on Pikmin 4 as it did to beat all three other Pikmin games, because they are that short. And yes, I was 100%ing areas as I go, but still, this game is very long, with what seems to be so far from what I've dabbled with, a very meaty and frankly impressive post-game with the amount of content that there is to do after you roll credits. I won't spoil anything, but wow. That's all I'll say is wow. Very impressive stuff. Has to be one of the best post games for any Nintendo game, I would imagine. I'd imagine by the time I 100% this game, get everything done, all the treasures, everything, all the castaways, I'll probably have like 35 hours played, which is something I certainly did not expect from a Pikmin game. And while there are times when I'm in a cave or something that it feels kind of long in the tooth, that is a very welcome addition to this franchise. It's just the length of this game, because the gameplay is that good and it is there to justify the length of the game. The major new addition this time is Oatchi, without a doubt. And I think Oatchi, even from when I played the demo a few weeks back, is just such a great addition. I like the strategy of timing when you put your Pikmin to build a wall or grab a treasure and all that. Oatchi just amplifies that by 1,000. There have been a lot of complaints that the game is too easy. I see that more as a strength. I think difficulty options would be good for Pikmin moving forward, maybe in an update, add a hard mode for those players. But as, like I said, a casual Pikmin fan, adding Oatchi, which basically just makes traversal super easy, is nothing but a net positive. Or getting dog paddles so you can swim in water with Oatchi and take your Pikmin across a body of water. It makes the level design much more interesting because you're moving around it much faster. The areas are much bigger than they were in the previous Pikmin games because you have Oatchi, which I think just lends itself to a much more interesting level design than the other games, much more memorable as well, if I had to say. Another big change is that you have a limited amount of Pikmin types on the field at any given moment. So you can only have 3 Pikmin out at once. In other games, you could have 5, basically, right? Or as many types as there were in that game. And this, you can only have 3, which is interesting because you would think that since the areas are bigger and the game is longer, you would just have them all at once. The cap is still 100. However, they did something very interesting where you actually have to upgrade it throughout the game. And since the game is so long, I think that's a really smart choice. You start out, I think, with 30 Pikmin that you can control. And as you collect Floralic, as they call it, they're just onions, you can upgrade that to 100 like you would expect in other Pikmin games. That just adds like a nice sense of progression. It's like, okay, early, you know, you're earlier when you're a baby, you pick out your 5 red Pikmin, 5 yellow Pikmin, and like 5 ice Pikmin, right? Later on in the game, you're bringing out 60 red Pikmin, and you just have an army, and it feels very satisfying. So I actually like that change a lot. I do think that maybe limiting it to 3 types is a little iffy. I don't know if I love that as much. I think it'd be cool if maybe in post game, I don't know yet, if there's an upgrade or something that lets you take out more types of Pikmin at once. That'd be really cool. If you're in a cave and they have, let's say, rock Pikmin for you to pull out, then you'll have 4 Pikmin, right? But only in that scenario. One thing I was just happy to see with this game overall is the the celebration of every Pikmin game, essentially, because in Pikmin 3, the white and purple Pikmin were pretty much delegated to the bingo battle mode and the other stuff, the other side stuff, the side content in that game. And this, you get all the Pikmin types as you play through the game, and I love that, because if they had to put my boy Rock Pikmin to the side and the flying Pikmin, I would have been very upset. So having all, what would that be, seven Pikmin types, but then you had, I don't even know how many we're at this point. Having them all in the game, though, is very nice. And speaking of Pikmin, I do want to touch on Ice Pikmin really quick. I don't know about you guys playing the game. I've never used a Pikmin more as a crutch in my life. I mean, okay, listen, Purple Pikmin and Pikmin 2, goated. You don't get better than that. Even in this game, when you finally start using the Purple Pikmin more in Pikmin 4, they're still goated. However, Ice Pikmin, I feel like I just always had, which I think maybe is why I kind of have more of an issue with the limit on 3 types of Pikmin, because pretty much no matter what, I was bringing Ice Pikmin. There are drawbacks, you know, if you freeze an enemy and kill the enemy while they're frozen, their corpse gets evaporated into nectar, so you can't transport their corpse back to get more Pikmin. So there is a downside, but as far as just surviving goes and playing through the game, pretty much just always keep Ice Pikmin on. You freeze the enemy and you will never have an issue. They feel a little overpowered in that regard, but once again, as a more casual player, just kind of viewing this game more as an action-adventure game rather than a strategy game in a lot of senses, I thought that was fine. I'm fine with that, but I can see, once again, where some people might take issue to Ice Pikmin being a little bit overpowered. In previous Pikmin games, you could upgrade your captain by finding upgrades in caves or whatever it is, right? Give you the whistle that lets you pluck Pikmin instantly, or faster running shoes, or whatever it is, right? In this game, you can upgrade your captain and Oatchi independently of each other using new resources. So in this game, you gather materials, right? You gather these little ice rocks in the levels, your Pikmin, you know, load them up into the thing, use those to build bridges and walls, but you also use them to upgrade your captain. And these upgrades can range from upgrading your run speed once again, or even upgrading some stuff for Oatchi as well, like giving him some sort of fireproof collar or ice-proof collar, that kind of stuff. And then for Oatchi, you get these pup drive tokens whenever you find a castaway, which I'll talk about more in detail in a bit. And this just, once again, upgrades Oatchi, makes him more powerful, gives him more health, gives him more attack, that kind of stuff. And I think just with the length of this game, it just adds to that satisfaction of progressing through, and is something that I think is a very good addition to this game that the other games didn't really have in the same way. Just having a hub area, also briefly mention that you start out each day at, is awesome. You have all these NPCs you can talk to, upgrade, you know, your little shops, and it's very nice. I like that a lot, so I think that's a great change as well. And if you're watching this video and you've never played a Pikmin game, and maybe you've been turned off by the franchise because you've heard that maybe it's a little bit stressful, this game is not stressful. Which, once again, talking about difficulty, that is an issue for a lot of people, but it just wasn't for me. Pikmin 1, listen, I think all Pikmin games are at least, very least good to great. Pikmin 1 I think is the worst, though, and that is in part due to the time limits and the restraints you feel and just the stress. Some people like that. It's not really for me, so this game completely does away with that. You have caves returning from Pikmin 2, which we'll talk about in depth once again, which there's no time going on in there, but there's also no resources. There's no overall resource that you're managing like in Pikmin 3, like the food. So you're not really on a time limit. You can go to rescue day 80 and you'll be fine. You still end the day and you leave the area, which honestly, I think at this point for a Pikmin game, for Pikmin 5, they could probably get rid of that as a function entirely, just end the day whenever you want. But for me, I actually think that less stress equal more fun in an action-adventure setting, but once again, just to answer those complaints, I do think a harder difficulty should be added for sure. But let's talk about caves. So Pikmin 2, up to this point, was my favorite Pikmin game. I really like Pikmin 2. I know caves are kind of a controversial subject. I love caves, probably because of that fact that there was no time moving in the cave, so I didn't feel as stressed. And caves are back and better than ever in this game. In Pikmin 2, they can get really kind of repetitive and long in the tooth. I mean, there are some caves in the end of Pikmin 2 that are 15 floors. Now, maybe that's the case in the post-game for Pikmin 4, but so far, I don't think I've seen a cave that's more than 5 sub-levels, which is sometimes still kind of long. I mean, you can spend an hour in a cave, or maybe like 40 minutes. Maybe an hour is way too pushing it. Maybe like 30 minutes. Maybe I don't want to get too crazy, depending on how much you struggle, right? But these on the one hand, I can see why some people might not like them because they do abrupt the flow of exploring the overworld. But for me, I really like just going into this little pot kettle thing and seeing a bunch of weird areas, or you're in this weird like picnic area or this aquarium or whatever it is, and collecting treasure down there and fighting enemies and just kind of just taking your time, analyzing everything from every aspect, which enemies you want to kill first, which Pikmin you want to get on the wall. I think that's when this game really shines, frankly, and I think that's when Pikmin 2 shined as well. So I'm very glad that caves are back. I do wish, at least just through the main 4 areas, which is what it takes to roll credits, I wish there was more bosses. I feel like there is a lack of bosses, and at least in caves. There's some really cool ones, don't get me wrong. Groovy long legs, goated, but I don't know. I feel like there could have been more boss-type enemies, at the very least, in these caves, but maybe my answer, maybe that complaint won't be as severe once I play through the post-game, and there's a ton of cool bosses in that area as well. But not only are caves back, they have 2 other types of gameplay things that are on the overworld map that you then find and kind of go into like a little area, sub-area without time. So, well, they are timed. So the first one is Dandori Challenge, which I actually really like. In fact, this might be my favorite part of the game. You're basically thrown into this area. It's basically just a single floor cave, and your goal is to get all the treasure, all the enemy corpses within usually 7 minutes. So, and this is just preaching Miyamoto's whole Dandori philosophy of really strategizing. I think as a whole, with the other Pikmin games, I don't like being stressed across the board when I'm exploring the overworld, but having these confined areas where you're on a strict time limit, you have to get all of these things within this time limit. That's very fun and very satisfying when you do it right. They also, for me, were actually getting a little difficult. There was one I was having trouble with in the 4th area, so maybe there's a difficulty spike or something. The first 3 I really didn't have any issue with at all, but that 4th one I was kind of struggling with. But these are really cool. It's just fun kind of strategizing, figuring out, okay, I need to go over here, pluck these rock Pikmin. Okay, I need to go over here, turn these yellow Pikmin into purple Pikmin, and just strategizing, figuring out which route is the best way to go to kill all the enemies, get all the treasure, freeze ice using the ice Pikmin because you can freeze bodies of water, which is cool. So those are a lot of fun. But then something they did that I'm not too sure I like is that they added this thing called Dandori Battle, which, once again, casual Pikmin fan. I've never played the bingo battle mode or any of the co-op stuff, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is just a mode from those games that they put in single player, where you are fighting against an unnamed leafling, and the goal is to just get as much points as possible by gathering treasures, killing enemies, bringing their corpses to your onion. This mode would be fine, but they could have at least made it full screen. It really bothers me that they just took this 2-player versus mode and put it into the single player and didn't get rid of the split screen view. There was never a moment where I was like looking at the other side of the screen, seeing like, oh, what's the AI doing? I don't care. Just let me do my thing. This would be fine without that, but for me, I don't know. I really didn't like that it's still split screen. I mean, you just change it. There's basically no reason for it to be split screen, so that really bugged me, but it's not that huge of a deal. You only do those a couple of times throughout the game, but they are required, which is also weird. Just a weird thing to put into the main story, if I'm being honest. That could have easily just been the Dandori challenges that I was talking about, and that, I feel like, would have sufficed, but I digress. And yeah, something I really haven't touched on yet is the treasures and also the castaways. So, treasures, if you have not played a Pikmin game, pretty much take the form of any real world object. It can be a little rubber ducky. It can be, I don't know. I mean, it can literally be anything. It could be a Nintendo Switch or a Game Boy Advance or a Game Boy Advance cartridge or a GameCube disc or anything, right? It could be food. There's a lot of food, strawberries, that kind of thing. That stuff's all great in this game. I still think Pikmin 2 did it best with the licensed products. I know they'll never do that again. I know they had to remove it from Pikmin 2 on Switch. Very upsetting there, but great variety as well. They do reuse a lot of stuff, but there's so many treasures in this game that I think it's fine. But then there's also the new castaways in this game. So the entire plot, not that Pikmin's super plot heavy, is that Olimar is shipwrecked on this planet, and then this rescue squad was sent to save him, and then you shipwreck, and then you're just finding all these different castaways that were shipwrecked on this planet, basically. So you'll find pretty much one in every cave in this game, I believe, and then they'll go back to your main hub. You do have to cure them first, though, by doing the night expedition. So this is another huge component of this game that is really cool and very fresh to Pikmin. In other Pikmin games, going out in dark is a no-no. You don't go outside in dark in Pikmin because all your Pikmin are going to die, the bulb orbs get evil, you don't want that. In this game, you have to go out at dark to collect this sap, I believe it's called, and just some sort of sap to heal the leaflings and bringing them back to their former selves, using the brand new glow Pikmin. So I love these. Once again, kind of OP, but you can only use them at dark or in caves using the leafling saplings or whatever the heck they're called. And this is just a tower defense section where you have, it's called a luminal, and it's just this tower thing that you just defend until sunrise. The enemies will slowly come at you. You can collect more glow Pikmin by picking up these little star bit things from Mario Galaxy, and it's a lot of fun. They're very short, very bite-sized, and you're just kind of put into different places of the maps you've already explored just at night. I really like the nighttime expeditions. I haven't done all of them up to where I'm at yet. There's still a lot I could do. I do like that you can kind of just bank your goo sap for for healing people later on. If you don't have enough castaways to heal, you can just keep doing nighttime expeditions and keep racking it up so that when you do get new ones, they'll be automatically healed. Nighttime expeditions, glow Pikmin, great addition. Love to see it. Want more of that in the future for sure. And then a couple more things I'm going to touch on. I have always been fascinated with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids aesthetic, being shrunken down and put into some sort of real world. Grounded from Obsidian on Xbox is another great example of this. Just seeing the real world from our perspective. I think Pikmin 4 does that better than any other Pikmin game because you're literally going inside of a house. You're going through someone's backyard garden, that kind of stuff. It's very fun just to see. This game is also very beautiful. One of the most visually impressive Switch games. I want to say the draw distance is really cool too because the areas are normally pretty flat. But if you're on the other side of the map, you can see all the way to the other side. Like, you can see your Pikmin moving a treasure or something to the onion. It's very fun, very beautiful. Love the theming of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids theming, which, I mean, that's always been Pikmin, but they really leaned into it this time. And also, just want to shout out the soundtrack, specifically that title theme. That title theme, like, I get chills when I loaded this game up. It's really nice. It's really soothing. I really, really like the OST in this game. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there. I have a lot left to do in Pikmin 4 before I give my true final thoughts on it. This is not my true review. I'll probably be talking about it on Nintendo Select with Tucker. I'll probably do another review of it, maybe a review discussion with someone. But I am shocked how good Pikmin 4 is, and I'm really excited to dive in this very meaty post-game like I was talking about. Very shocked by the length of it. Once again, if it wasn't for Zelda, this would probably be my game of the year, in a year that is very stacked for me. We had the Xenoblade DLC, we had Hi-Fi Rush, there's been a ton of great stuff this year. This game is frankly on that level. It is amongst some of Nintendo's best work, I think, and on the Switch. The Switch has been great for revitalizing franchises, introducing new ideas, and just bringing them to a more mass audience, and I really hope that Pikmin 4 sticks the landing of finding that audience. It already nailed the revitalization aspects of the development and all that. It already nailed that. This game is awesome. It just needs to stick that landing of selling a lot of copies. So, to the title of the video, please play Pikmin 4, because this game deserves all the love it can get. Until next time, folks. Bye-bye.